What's going on, guys? Look, it's Marcel Benson, investor and entrepreneur, and I got a really good video for y'all today. I think y'all gonna enjoy this one, right? So, for the algorithm, hit the like button, leave a comment. Let's dive into it. All right, look. So, I'm just gonna talk to y'all today. Like, this is not, podcast pitch style. This is not a lecture. This is just literally like my observations and something that I think is going to save a lot of you, right? Speaking from just experience, things that I've done, things that I've seen my peers do in these particular places. And I've been in pretty much every bracket, right? I've been in pretty much every type of circle. So I understand this very well, okay? Now, I know you guys have heard of like middle child syndrome, right? They say so many things about the middle child. They say that, the middle child is like the lost child or whatever. But statistics show that the middle child, which I am, actually has, like the best chance of like going out and changing the world, going out and being successful, going out and being wealthy, going out and shifting the dynamic of the family because of the dynamics of the household, like, having to understand how to, have attention, taken off of them from the younger one. Also, knowing how to be a student at the same time to the older, right? So being a teacher and a student at the same time, and also maybe sometimes not even getting the attention that they feel that they need or, deserve or desire, whatever, right? But middle class syndrome is a little bit different, right? Middle class syndrome is something that is really real in this world. And it creates this weird dynamic from what I've noticed that almost keeps you trapped. And when you think about the middle of anything, that's pretty much what it is, right? I don't know if I've ever desired to be in the middle of anything. When you think about middle, it's like, unless you're in the middle of a business transaction, that's the only way that I want to be in the middle of something, right? Typically, the middle is getting it something the harshest, right? It's like it's in a sandwich, it's getting smashed, right? If you're in the middle of a car accident, if you're in the middle of, the ocean, like when I just think about middle, I'm thinking about, damn, I can't think of a time where middle is just like good other than being a middleman in a business transaction, right? So with that being said, the middle class syndrome, I think, is something that so many people are plagued with, right? Many people born into the middle class, they tend to stay there. There are people that even get to what they call the upper middle class, which is like just some label, I guess they slapped on it. It's like, I guess it's like, not quite rich, but you're making enough to do the things that you want to do. I feel like this is a very dangerous place to be. Even more so than poverty, and I'm gonna tell you why. Right? When you're in the middle class, you are typically like plagued with this syndrome, right? You have the disposable income because you probably, learned a great skill, and you're probably working a job that you may not love, but it's skilled labor, right? You could be an accountant, you could be, you could be a consultant, you could be, a government employee, you could be, a firefighter, so many different things, right? What happens with these people is they have enough money to get things, and, they may have not been a part of this, this class, maybe the upper middle class when they were growing up. Maybe they were like kind of in the bottom of the middle class and kind of, maybe able to get some things, but not the things that, they desire, right? So like the nice cars, the nice clothes, whatever. So when they make it to this level where they have some disposable income, they tend to want to show it off. They tend to want to prove to themselves that, you know, what they're doing is worthwhile. So they start to spend it on things that don't bring back any sort of a return, right? So it's like it's like this vicious cycle, right? The middle class pretends to be rich, and the rich tends to pretend to be poor, and then, you know, like the poor is, you know, a lot of times also trying to like mimic the rich as well, right? But the difference is something happens like when you're poor that gives you, I think, you know, a better chance of actually, you know, doing well in your career, right? And I think that's like the grit. It's like the fearlessness. You already feel like you've lost, so the only place you can go is up. It gives you a sort of tenacity that I think a lot of people don't develop when they are in the middle, right? The middle is almost like a comfortable place, right? So you can get caught up in so many different tricks when you're in a comfortable place in the middle, because again, you know, you didn't just piss your life away. You went to school probably. You're working, you know, a job that's paying you more than enough money, but is going right back into looking like you have more than what you have, right? When they say that the middle class is collapsing, yes, it is because of, you know, inflation, high interest rates and stuff like that. But it's also, you know, like the spending habits of the middle class that a lot of people don't want to really talk about, right? I've seen people talk about super wealthy people that have like Rolls Royces. They're like that Rolls Royce is like such and such percent of your net worth. I'm like, well, I know people in the middle class that are buying Benzes that are 60 to 100K, and they're not worth millions. So it goes to show, like, a lot of times people are financing cars that is somewhere around their annual salary. You know what I mean? This is taking place in the middle class. There's a lot of people. I forget the statistic. I'll, you know, probably find it and put it in this video, like up in the corner somewhere. But there's a large amount of the middle class that's living paycheck to paycheck, but have a very nice lifestyle, right? The purpose of this video is to get you to understand that middle class is not a place that you want to strive to be. It's not a place that you want to get caught up in either. You want to get to a place where you have enough wealth to completely take care of your life. And yes, this may technically fall in the middle class, but if your wages do fall in middle class, you can still avoid having the middle class syndrome, which is wanting to show and prove that you have disposable income, right? In the times that we're in, the people who are the happiest and the most liberated are the ones who are not showing it, right? The ones who are understanding that it is so much more important to have assets, to have money in the bank, to have the means to be able to do things and choose not to, right? We are getting ready to go through massive job loss, massive unemployment. It's coming. You know, we don't know exactly the extent of it, but we're talking about pandemic numbers. We're talking about possibly, you know, creeping up on, you know, depression numbers. Go look up what those unemployment rates were during that time, right? This could be a real thing. And a lot of people that, like I said, are in the middle class and have this middle class syndrome, they're doing something that they don't particularly care for, and they've built a life around it. So it's almost inescapable. And they've built all these vices, all these like habits, all these things to make them feel better about the decisions that they've made around the job that they're depending on. And avoided, getting assets that pay them, right? Avoided getting, stocks, and avoided buying real estate, avoided doing things that wouldn't necessarily show, hey, I have money, right? It's like they went for the liabilities, they went for the clothing, they went for the trips, they went for all the things that are saying, hey, I'm doing well in life. While the people who are able to hold out for a longer period of time get to enjoy what truly being rich is. And here's the beautiful thing about being rich, right? When you're rich, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. It never matters what anyone thinks, but even in the physical world, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks, because if you have the option to do something and choose not to, that is so much more powerful than wanting to do something and you don't have the option. I do not want y'all to miss that, right? These next 5 years, this world's going to be shifting in a lot of different ways. And I want to ask you, like, what side of it do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side that can still move freely, can still, conduct the business and take advantage of the opportunities that may come as a result of this shifting world? Or do you want to be heavily relying upon a position to give you that next check so that you can maintain an image, right? It's time to shake the middle child syndrome. I'm sorry. It's time to shake the middle class syndrome. Shake it off, right? Sell things, emergency funds, debt being paid off, assets, net worth improving, right? Getting full control over your budget and your financial life, understanding what's going on, where all your money is going, right? Being able to do all of these things are going to liberate you in so many ways. Now, I'm not knocking having a job at all. I actually think it's a beautiful thing to have a job if you can figure out how to make it work for you and what your ultimate plan of freedom is, right? I think, having a designated period of time where you're working and you're getting your corporate money, or you're getting your money from whatever job, but you have something else that you're building, and you have assets that you're building that you plan on using to take care of you, in the long term. Don't get caught up in the hype. I'm telling you, like, everything looks so good online, right? There's a reason that, like, Instagram, TikTok, some of these other, maybe not so much TikTok. I feel like TikTok real, but it's the reason that Instagram causes so much, like, depression and comparison in people. But when you look at the statistics, it's not mathing. It's not matching up with the level of wealth that you're seeing with your eyes, like from an aesthetic perspective, like in pictures and things that you're seeing people do. It's not matching up with what's actually being shown in data to, like what the average person, has in their, their savings account and stuff like that. But any business owner knows, like, when you start to have, conversations, you start understanding a little bit more about, how much money people really do have, and how much they really are investing in things like that when it's time to actually do something. So I want to encourage you guys to, like, really start to evaluate your decisions. Like, ask yourself, like, am I falling victim to temporary things, to overcompensate for, for other things that I may have lacked in my childhood? Or am I really living intentionally and making sure that I'm building a life that will take care of me, right? Am I buying things that will take care of me, right? The true wealth is being able to just exist and everything be taken care of. Now, unless you're born into a super wealthy family, we got to work a little bit to get there. We got to sacrifice a little bit to get there. We got to give up certain things in the short term to get there. And if we don't, we will be completely caught up in that middle class syndrome, right? Doing everything so that we get the validation of others. No different than high school, no different than grade school, right? Grown people still behaving in this manner, right? It's time to shake that. And we also live in a time, I don't know if you guys can feel it energetically, where, things are being revealed, right? The cap is up. It's like You got to really be doing something. You got to really be mastering something. You got to really be like, pushing towards something. So I hope this video encourages you guys. Again, middle class syndrome is real. And the earlier you can start to get on that trajectory of I want to live a wealthy life, the earlier you start saying, no to wants and yes to, to needs, you're going to be well on your way. I want to give you guys a little bit more, right? So this statistic blew my mind, and it really shifted how I view money, right? So I'm 36 years old, right? So retirement age for me would be in about 30 years. And I learned that for every $400 that I spend, it's about $14,000 that I'm taking from my future self because of a 10%, interest rate over the course of 30 years. So it's like, it's not like I won't go spend $400, but it's just like, when you're spending something, you have to create a system that is allowing that money to come in where you're not actually exchanging your energy and your time, right? So the short way to say that is that you should get assets to pay for frivolous things instead of working for money to pay for frivolous things, right? You want to buy your frivolous things with assets that you've purchased and you have some sort of residual income coming from. And you want to really be mindful of like where you're spending, $500, $1,000 if it's not bringing anything back, if there's no sort of ROI to it, right? We have a lot of people that hesitate to put $1,000 into the stock market, but they'll put $1,000 into something that immediately loses value. Cars, clothes, going out, restaurants, right? Vacations. Now, those all those things do enhance you, right? They can make you feel good, which could lead to you, taking a certain action that could lead to you making money. But when we're talking about a direct impact on your income, these things do nothing for it. So we want to be smart just about like where we're spending that money. So like I said, the 400, that's like 14,000. So I'm spending 800 to 1,000. I'm robbing my future self. I'm robbing my retired self, my myself that wants to just be chilling, of about $28,000 to $30,000 every single time. So what do? We start automating. We start thinking about, okay, where do I want to be? If I know that every $400 is about $14,000, what's the calculation to get to $1 million? What's the calculation to get to $2 million in that time period? Okay, you're ambitious. You want to do it in a shorter period of time. You start cutting that in half. You start thinking about it in that way. But we got to start investing in our future selves. We got to stop doing things for the look, right? Especially in our community. We've come so far, and the way to get to that next level is to get on the same page about that, right? Like really knowing how to take care of our money, right? We got a lot of people that are getting to it now in the community, doing things for one another, right? Teaching, educating like we're doing in the Prosperity Collective, teaching stocks, teaching swings, teaching you guys how you can get, 30+% in a single day, and building your future. But if we're not taking care of the money, if we're not making sure that our mindset is shifting, we're not raising our self-esteem to understand that we are not validated by the words of, the next person, right? Then, we effectively are not going anywhere. So I hope this video helps. Again, stay away from the middle class syndrome. Always think wealthy, always be building, always be buying assets and taking care of your future self. It's always love over here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.